the Nokar mantra at the beginning of every auspicious event and program, and this is definitely that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Twisha Shah to the stage to perform a Bharatnatyam dance to the Navkar mantra. Twisha is currently a high school student, member of the Jain Center's Youth Council, and our Pachala program. She has been an avid Bharatnatyam student for the last 15 years and a dedicated Pachala student for 13 years. In fact, she is one of our main choreographers for all of our Pachalas programs. Please join me as we welcome Twisha Shah to the stage. Thank you very much, Trisha, for that absolutely incredible performance. Ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause for her. I would now like to ask Samir Shah to come to the stage. Samir Bhai is the current president of the Jain Center of Southern California's Executive Committee, and he was previously the vice president. He is a vital and extremely active member of our community and an absolutely exceptional person. You guys will see that when you hear him speak. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Samir Shah.
Jai Jinendra. Thank you, Nami. Esteemed guests, scholars, and fellow members of the Jain community. Today marks a momentous occasion as we gather once more at this beautiful Jain Center of Southern California. While we have convened here in the past, today's purpose carries a special significance. We stand here not just as inheritors of an ancient tradition, but as explorers of this profound wisdom in the modern age. It is undeniable that in recent years, the flame of Jainism has flickered. We have witnessed a growing disconnect between the younger generation and the profound teachings of our faith. This trend is not unique to our center. It is a challenge faced by the Jain communities across the world. However, within this challenge lies an opportunity. As a beacon of Jainism in the Northern Hemisphere, the Jain Center of Southern California has the potential to inspire a renaissance. We must ask ourselves how we can rekindle the flame of curiosity and devotion in the hearts and minds of our youth. How can we bridge the gap between tradition and modernity? The answers lie within the very essence of Jainism. Our faith is not merely a collection of rituals and beliefs. It is a profound philosophy that speaks to the deepest truth of existence. Jainism was exploring the universe and the nature of reality long before modern science emerged. Thousands of years ago, Jain scriptures described the existence of microorganisms, the interconnectedness of life, the intricate workings of the cosmos. These concepts, revolutionary for their time, are only now being validated by the modern science. Yet, they often remain hidden gems, unknown to the wider world and even to many within our own community. Today, as we inaugurate the beautiful Gyan Mandir, the temple of knowledge, let us pledge to illuminate these treasures. Let us share the wonders of Jain philosophy with the world, demonstrating its enduring relevance in an age of scientific inquiry. And let us empower our youth to become ambassadors of Jainism, sharing its message of peace, nonviolence, and universal compassion. Together, we can ensure that Jainism is not only survives, but thrives, inspiring generations to come. I extend a warm welcome to all of our distinguished guests and invite you to join us on this extraordinary journey of discovery and renewal. I also wanted to take this opportunity to thank all the volunteers who have helped to arrange this event. I wanted to thank our AV team first. With limited resources, they always come through and help us. I also wanted to take this opportunity. It's an historic event today. We are inaugurating a new Gyan Mandir later today. And I wanted to encourage all of you to participate. I wanted to make one more announcement. Today's events organizer and our main guest, our past president, Dr. Jaswant Modi, has pledged $151,000 to the Jain Center of Southern California towards the Gyan Mandir, towards the expansion of our future building plans, construction plans, and to the exhibit area. Thank you so much, Jaswant Bhai. And thank you, everyone. Jai Jinendra.
He's very tall. That's okay. Thank you so much, Samir Pai, for your warm and very welcoming words. The Jain Center is truly lucky to have you as our president. I would now like to invite a few of our academics to speak on stage. With that being said, our very first academic, Dr. Sulek Chand Jain. Please come to the stage. Dr. Jain is the founder and co-founder of over a dozen influential organizations and institutions across North America. He has served as secretary and president of several prominent Jain organizations, including the Federation of Jain Associations in North America, the Jain Society of Houston, and the Jain Center of Cincinnati-Dayton. In 2005, Dr. Jain co-founded the International School of Jain Studies with Dr. Shugan Jain, which has been an instrumental part in transforming Jain academic studies in North America, the UK, Europe, and beyond. His extensive travels have taken him across various parts of the world, furthering his impact globally. Dr. Jain's achievements have been recognized through awards from commercial, professional, and religious organizations, including the prestigious Jaina Ratna Award. In addition to his contributions to Jainism, Dr. Jain is widely published in fields spanning engineering, Jain philosophy, ahimsa or nonviolence, and Gandhian principles. His first book, An Ahimsa Crisis, You Decide, is available for free, and in 2023 and 2024, he released his second and third books. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Sulek Chand Jain.
Wow, too much praise for me. I don't really deserve. But anyway, please say 3 times quickly, Jai Jinendra with me. Jai Jinendra. One more time, Jai Jinendra. I welcome you to this great event. For me, it is really a special occasion. I don't know how many times I can thank you people. I'll take you during the next few minutes to a journey, the journey of Jain academic education. My brothers and sisters, 20 years ago, in this country, there was no Jain education in any universities at that time. Just walk with me for a few minutes. 20 years ago, more than 2 or 3 or 4 Jain scholars. There were none who knew about Jainism. 15 years ago, there was absolutely no Jain chairs or anything like this on a regular basis in Jainism. So how do we get to this where we are today? When we hardly any university, any new. So the first thing that we did quickly, we have to educate and train new scholars who will become future professors. Some of them are here. So in 2005, we established the International School for Jain Studies. I will not go through the slides, otherwise I'll keep you awake here till evening. That's not my job. So quickly pay attention. In 2005, the whole purpose was to educate and train scholars, mostly from American universities. We took them to India, gave them intensive training. They came back. They enrolled in PhD programs at Harvard or Cambridge or other places, many, many universities. So that was one. When they started coming out of that program, which many of them did after 6, 7, 8 years of their education, then we said, now we can go to universities. So we started the first one in 2010, which is about 14 years ago, with Florida International University. Then if I walk you very quickly that in 2014, right here in this hall, we signed, and the person who signed, Dr. Jason Modi, and his wife, Dr. Meera Modi, right here in this hall. I have a picture, but I may not have time to show you the signing ceremony of a Jain chair at University of California at Irvine, which is not too far from here. So the whole seed of this journey, moving very, very quickly, practically started from here. Another tribute I want to pay, your past President Virender Shah. He took the vow, he took the vote to make this center to promote Jain studies in universities around the world. So where are we here today? If I can quickly share with you, give me 1 second. We are in 50 universities, 50. "15 years ago, we were at none. Okay, we are 11 endowed chairs. Endowed chairs are very high position. Some of them are here. 10 endowed professorships. We established, and I'm especially proud, at my alma mater, at University of Birmingham in England, with the previous dean, Dr. Charlotte Hempel is here, she will tell you. We established a Jain chair there, not with 1, not with 2, but 3 full-time professors. And I came to know only 2 days ago that position, that whole activity has grown to 7 people. Nowhere else we have, anywhere, my brothers and sisters, that many scholars soon we will have there. It's University of Birmingham, and how fortunate, how glad I feel that I belong to that university that gave me an education 58 years ago. Okay, let me go on. We have 10 postdoctoral fellowships. When these people do PhDs, we have to create jobs for them. So postdoctoral fellowships are the next path. We have 7 lecturerships and adjunct professorships. 14 universities are offering courses on their own, where they saw this movement that the Jain people are doing something. Several universities said, why don't we start on their own? Right now, as of yesterday, that my list is, we have 30 people, 30 scholars doing PhDs in Jainism. And just 4 scholars, and 2 of them are here. They are doing PhD at University of California at Riverside, only a few miles from here. We started program teaching Prakrit, the language of our canonical, our agams. We have many scholars. We offer a 9-month intensive coaching in person, not online. We fully paid in India. That program is going on for many, at least 6-7 years. So quickly again, we are in USA, and many of them in California and mostly in LA area. In United Kingdom at 3 universities, Oxford, SOAS, and of course University of Birmingham. France, Pakistan. Who will think of Pakistan? 2 universities are offering courses in Pakistan. Nepal, Canada, Germany, Israel, Hebrew University in Israel, we established a chair there. Okay? Philippines, South Africa, Belgium, Italy, Brazil, Kenya, and 2 universities in India. So I want to thank all of you. I want to thank your presidents. I want to thank all those people who started this journey. And bear with me, just for 1 more minute. About few months ago, I just wrote a short poem in English. And of course, I did not revise that. So give me a chance to read that to you. It's not very long. In the tapestry of knowledge, A story unfolds. Philanthropist with hearts of gold. Jain education, once a quiet stream, now a vibrant symphony, a learned stream. For years neglected, a field unseen, now emerges Jainism's academic sheen. Globally, universities open their gates wide to teach, research, and in wisdom abide. 15 years, a journey profound, more than 50 institutions, knowledge abound. Chairs, professorships, a scholarly embrace, a global resurgence, a radiant grace. In the corners of the world, from east to west, Jain courses flourishing, a scholarly quest. From the USA to Brazil's embrace, Jain academic education finds its face. Behind this transformation, no magic spell, but the dedication, a story to tell. Philanthropists in USA, Canada, and beyond open their hearts and commitment so strong. A group united, pockets wide open, over 400 crores. 400 crore rupees, my brothers and sisters, in knowledge tide. Dr. Jaswant Modi and Meera Modi, a shining pair. Yeoman service, a legacy rare. Jaswant Modi, a gastroenterologist by trade, now a philanthropist in knowledge shade. A heart generous, supporting countless causes. Pratham Ekal Vidyalaya, love never pauses. In the pandemic's shadow, a hero stood. Oxygen generators, a gesture so good. More than 200 crore rupees to Jain Studies name, a testimony to his philanthropy's flame. Jaswant Modi, Jainam's guide star in the USA, UK, near and far. A unique contribution, a game changer true. Jain chairs named after Tirthankars, a breakthrough. No chair is named after Jaswant Modi. Okay? Every chair is named where he has been a partner in the name of a Tirthankar. A silent force, a visionary mind, Jaswant's legacy to knowledge bind, financial support, time and guidance, a true, a journey transformative, a vision so true. In his words, a pledge profound, at the University of Birmingham's wisdom crowned, teaching and research scholars esteem, Jaswant's commitment, a dream realized it seems. I'm truly honored he passionately shares in Birmingham's hall, knowledge declares, compassion, nonviolence, a harmonious theme, contribution to a world more empathic it seems. A staunch vegan, his value clear, JCSC and YJA is influence dear. Sulekh Jain, the storyteller's pen in Las Vegas shares this tale again. Thank you. And so I need Jaswant Modi for one more second here. If you will honor my 3 professors who have come from University of Birmingham. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I want Jaswant Modi to be here to put this scarf on the 3 professors who have come from University of Birmingham. Please, they have taken a journey very far, and please welcome them at this place. Just bye. All the 3 scholars from University of Birmingham, please come here. Come this side. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate. Now, am I still on time? Or have I taken too long?
Yeah, too long.
Huh?
Let's move forward.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, then you can invite Shireen, you can take on. Oh, photo. आइए आपके साथ.
Thank you, Dr. Jain. One more round of applause for him. At this time, I would like to invite Shrenik Saveri to the stage, please. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Shrenik Zaveri. First of all, thank you so much, Sulet Kaka Jaswan Bhai, for inviting me over here to give a quick introduction about Guitar Ganga. But before I start, my name is Shrenik Zaveri. I'm with the Jain Center of Northern California, right above you guys, 400 miles north. So I'm here to introduce about Guitar Ganga, which is a research institution in Ahmedabad, and I represent Guitar Ganga globally. So let's see what Guitar Ganga is all about. But before that, we saw that there are a lot of scholars over here, right? We have a lot of Jain scholars around the world. They need material to study. Who prepares this material? Guitar Ganga is that research institute which has been preparing this material, R&D for scholars material since 1991. Okay, so let's check it out. Oops. Can you forward the slide for me? This doesn't seem to work. Okay. Okay, so Guitar Ganga is a spiritual research institute in Ahmedabad. People who are from Ahmedabad might know an area called Paldi or Manik Bagh. Yes? Okay. So this institution hides in the leafy lane in the Paldi area. It was founded in 1991 by a Jain Acharya called Yug Bhushan Suri and his brother. His brother's name is Mohit Vijay Suri, but he's no more with us today. But Yug Bhushan Suri is the one who really created this Guitar Ganga. The beauty of that is they have almost 200,000 books and 20,000+ grunts in their research center, which are absolutely digitized, using OCR technology. And once they are digitized, you can really search. For example, Ahimsa, can you go to the next slide? Right there. So if you see on the top left, This is a screenshot I've taken from the computer directly. So over here, they are querying on a word called ahimsa. And ahimsa appears in this grunts that you see in 7 different grunts. This is just an example. When you go on the right, it tells you exactly within the grunts in which records it's shown. And on the bottom, it shows the narration of ahimsa. So this is like the Google of Jainism. Okay? So anybody who wants to search on Anekantvad, aparigraha, they just type in, and it will give a detailed narrative of that word, basically. So this, we have approximately 200 to 300 people who are digitizing on daily basis from all these grunts, okay? And then it is right now in intranet. That means it's not open to public cloud. It is still internally searchable. But once it's ready in a few years, we are going to make it publicly available on the internet, okay? So this is what we do at Gita Ganga, and I travel the world talking to the Jain centers. I was in Singapore, Malaysia, Taiwan. We all have Jain centers over there. I was in Belgium too, and I was in SOAS talking to various scholars about this research. And my request to the scholars over here is, please come visit our research center. You'll be amazed what we have. So this is the value we create for the scholars that Jaswant Bhai and Sule Kaka creates, right? We provide the trainer material for them, okay? Can we go to the next slide? So this is, most of the scholars you might know, this is Dr. Nalini Balbir on the left. Yes, how many know Nalini Balbir? Fair amount of people. Okay, so she's the one who visited our center in 2018, and the guy in the center is giving the demo. And on the right, you see, is the Kushal Kirti Maharaj. When he was in Sansar, he was doing programming, and then he took Diksha. He was an amazing programmer who became then a saint, okay? And actually, he's a friend of mine. And then we are giving a demo to Nalini Balbir over here, and see what she says. I know you can read it, but for the people at the back, although I have been a frequent visitor to Ahmedabad, this is the first time I'm fortunate to visit this institute. I'm very impressed by the work that has been done here and by the dedication of the people who work here in the various sections. What is being devised here is very powerful research tool for everybody. The work is based on up-to-date technologies, and it's very thorough. So this is the first step. But now, since we have ChatGPT, right? I mean, Google is gone. I mean, not really gone, but it's there. But ChatGPT has taken over. So our goal is, I'm going to take certain AI scientists from my company to Ahmedabad in a week or so, and we are going to go a step ahead and take this forward such that anybody who types in ahimsa in Gujarati or Hindi will get a narration back, so they can do a live Q&A. People who have used ChatGPT, right? It talks to you. It understands human language. It can do PowerPoint for you. Can you believe that? You say, create a PowerPoint for me, it will do a PowerPoint for you. We want similar technology over here. So it can, when you say, give me a narration on ahimsa or aparigraha or prashasta bhav, you may not know the meaning, but it will give you all the references from various books. That is our goal, okay? It's a long shot, but we have Acharya Yug Bhushan Suri. He's simply a brilliant mind who has his blessing on this project, and with his guidance, we are taking this forward, okay? So I'll be here, and I have a lot of material, handouts, and a DVD for the scholars who are visiting us from worldwide to give them a sample of what we have produced, okay? Can we go to the next slide? Finally, this is just my contact info. I'm not too far from LA. I'm just an hour flight away, and I'm always available on my WhatsApp number. So if you need to get in touch with me, or if you are in Ahmedabad and if you need to visit a research center, let me know. I can organize a meeting for you. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. One more round of applause. That program will definitely bring Jainism to the 21st century, so we're very excited for it. Next, I would like to introduce Assistant Professor Marie-Helene Gorosi. If I said your name wrong, I do apologize. How do you say it? Gorosi, okay. Ms. Gorosi is the Dharmanath Assistant Professor in Jain Studies at the School of Philosophy, Theology, and Religion at the University of Birmingham. There, she leads the Dharmanath Network in Jain Studies, which enhances the societal impact of Jainism, interfaith, and nonviolence through continuous engagement with political, cultural, and religious institutions. She is also the co-founder of the Templeton Project, Global Philosophy of Religion, Fundamental, Spiritual Reality, Human Purpose, and Living Well, the first chair of the Global Critical Philosophy of Religion Unit at the American Academy of Religion, and the founding member of Jain Philosophy Research Group, which spearheads international research in Jain philosophy. She has published in leading venues, including the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, the Oxford Handbook of Indian Philosophy, or Religious Studies. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the very, very talented and intelligent Assistant Professor Marie-Helene Gorosi.
Well, thank you so much for such an introduction. It's a real honor to be here in front of such an audience. So, yeah, it's perfect, thank you. So it's not really clear to me how much time I have, and shall I introduce my research or speak about it? Yeah, good. So just stop me if I speak too long. Yeah, it has been a wonderful journey, actually. Thanks to all the people, Jaswant Ji and all the people of the Jain Academic Committee, and many Jains from the UK communities, also including the Institute of Jainology. We have been able to have chairs not only in Jain studies, but also in the ethic of nonviolence at the University of Birmingham, and from only like one year and a few months ago. And since then, there are already a lot of projects that have been going on. So I guess my colleague Charlotte Hempel will talk about some of them. So I will try to restrict myself to maybe the research part in that. Something that it's hard to restrict on that. So something which has been going on also, and quickly mentioned when I was introduced, is this Jaina research group on philosophy. And most of my colleagues in this group, it's a group of around 10 scholars, are here today. And there it's quite exciting what we are doing, because some very important texts in Jaina philosophy have not yet been translated in English, and not well commented, not well edited. And I'm thinking, for example, here we are meeting to translate and work on a translation of Akalanka Astashati, which is a commentary on the very famous Samantabhadra's Aptamimamsa. So that's part of the project that we have. I'm working on as a scholar, if I'm focusing on the research. And then, as a researcher, I'm also focusing on so it's hard, I don't see you at all with all the lights. I've been focusing on what it means really to acquire the valid pieces of knowledge. I'm focusing on epistemology and theories of knowledge and theories of argumentation and logic. And then I was working on some Jain text on this, and then I went to start meeting people from the Jain community, and I realized that there was way more to that only meet the eyes in this very systematic theoretical treatises. So I tried to understand how it happens that what was the conjunction between those theoretical treatises and Jain practice, Jain religious practices. So one of my projects today is really to try to understand the role and the position, the status of knowledge, also in Jain religious activities. So, for example, I'm very keen on trying one angle for investigating that matter is to really focus on metaphors, the metaphors on how the soul is connected with karma, And for example, really tell me how many minutes I have. I was focusing on this metaphor of the muddy. Maybe just let me give you one metaphor to explain to you what my aim is in this type of lines of research. When you have all heard, I guess, about this metaphor that you can find in Pujyapada Sarvata Siddhi about the muddy waters. You know, muddy waters are but dust particles mixed with pure water for which you can see. And then when the water gets agitated, you have this impure muddy water through which if you swim, you can see nothing, not even at 1 meter away. But the teaching being that if you keep quiet for an enough amount of time, then dust particles come back at the very bottom of the water, and then you can see through again. And of course, Pujyapada is comparing these muddy waters to the soul linked with karma, and the karma's particles are getting agitated and makes you unable to see correctly the world again. And I'm using this type of metaphors to say, to show how there is this deep connection between an ethical way of life in which you are not trying to pursue one precise project of yours, but you are really trying to let things shine as they are and see things as they are. And when your passions, your limited intentional projects are being calmed down, thanks to practice like Prekshadhyana, meditation, and the like, then it's like the water calming down, not being stirred for an enough amount of time, and all these karmic particles are settled at the bottom, and you can see clearly through that. So I'm working on the relationship between theories of knowledge, really, and theory of morality, how to live in an ethical way amounts to knowing better the way things are, because in the end, knowledge is the natural accompaniment of unimpeded activity of the soul, and really Jaina practice at all about that, getting to realize that we are in truth this soul, which is unobstructed knowledge, bliss, perception, and energy. So I'm working on that, translating a few texts right now. So yeah, I've been speaking a bit too much on the philosophy because I'm also a lot engaged in project that Charlotte Hempel here will speak more about with museums, with also a lot of different teachings and the like, with the Vatican and inclusivity and diversity. So yeah, I hope that in a nutshell, I tried to convey what I'm doing for 1 year at the University of Birmingham. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I could hear that accent all day, by the way. Up next, I would like to invite Jinesh R. Shet to the stage, please. Mr. Shet is currently the Dharmanath Postdoctoral Research Fellow at the Jain Studies at the University of Birmingham. Prior to this, he completed his PhD at the University of Mumbai. I love it. His doctoral work reinvestigated the doctrine of anekantvad with respect to certain dimensions. Some of those dimensions include the meaning and different senses of the term, its relationship to ahimsa, with the nischay vyavhar naya, and now it could be applied in the field of ethics. He is currently interested in engaging with the various problems of philosophy from a Jain perspective, and which is grounded in the theory of anekantvad. Please join me as we welcome Jinesh Shet to the stage.
Thank you so much for this introduction. Namo anekantavadassa. I don't know where to start, but I'll begin with expressing my gratitude to the Jaina Academic Liaison Committee, to all the efforts that Sulekji just mentioned, how it started, and I'm just one part of this. So really grateful to have this postdoctoral position at the University of Birmingham. And it's been just more than 6-7 months that I have started, and I'm really enjoying my time over there working on extending my research on Anekantavada, which was the subject of my PhD. And as mentioned, I am currently working on some of the problems of philosophy and how Anekantavada can address those issues. And it's grounded in the text that was mentioned earlier, that is Apta Mimamsa. Often, in a scholarly discourse, when you talk about Anekantavada, you may have heard about these metaphysical categories of being, non-being, permanence, change, and how Jain philosophers argue that reality is inclusive of both these contradictory properties. And here is a text which engages with issues that are beyond the metaphysical realm, and issues related to ethics, soteriology, epistemology, and these have hardly received attention. So, for instance, if I ask you, like, what's the Jain perspective on determinism and free will, and Samantabhadra argues that it's possible to have both of them together in its own non-one-sided way. So, similarly, how do you define hinsa and ahimsa? Is pleasure given to others always a merit, and is pain given to others always a sin? And Samantabhadra again argues that that's a one-sided definition. And these ways of expanding the notion of Syadvad, Anekant, Nayas to issues that are beyond metaphysics is something that's currently occupying my research interest. I'm so working on these areas. And Nishchay, Vyavahara, Nayas, as it was mentioned, again, they do not talk about reality as such, but they are more about prescriptive discourse. So how does the jiva engage with his or her journey towards liberation? How do you understand soul? And how do these perspectives could be applied in a non-one-sided way? Currently, I'm also exploring what's the Jain position on theism-atheism debate. And again, over here, I see that Anekantavada could challenge these categories as considering them as two ends of a spectrum, and Jainism could be somewhere between them, or it could be inclusive of both. So it is theistic in some sense, it is atheistic in some others, and how a Jain paradigm of God could emerge while drawing upon arguments that argue for theism, against theism, and they also argue against theism and for atheism. So in many ways, Anekantavada still has a lot to dig into, and there are many Jain texts that haven't received any attention. This text, Samantabhadra's Apta Mimamsa, I would like to add this, and I'm not aware if this has been noted earlier. I mean, apart from Tattvat Sutra, Bhaktamar Stotra, and Namokar Mantra, if there is another text that has a universal appeal to all Jains, it is Apta Mimamsa, because it has been commented upon by philosophers from both the traditions, Digambara and Shvetambara. And it's a philosophical text, and it's so interestingly engaging with these diverse philosophical viewpoints and positions. And also, the reason that I could be here is because I'm also part of the panel at AAR. And as mentioned, we will be working on translation of some of the verses and its commentary. So these are some of the areas that I'm working with, and I hope to expand these ideas further. Thank you so much, and thank you.
Thank you so much. We look forward to hearing more about that. Next, I would like to introduce Charlotte Hempel. Ms. Hempel is professor of Hebrew Bible and Second Temple Judaism at the University of Birmingham, an internationally leading scholar on the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Hebrew Bible. She published 11 books on her research and served as editor-in-chief of the flagship academic journal, Dead Sea Discoveries. During her career, Professor Hempel has also held a string of leadership roles. She served as president of the British and Irish Association of Jewish Studies, as well as president of the Society for Old Testament Studies. Her senior leadership positions at the University of Birmingham include service as director of the College of Arts and Law Graduate School, and most recently as head of the School of Philosophy, Theology, and Religion from 2019 to 2024. During her tenure, she was privileged to collaborate closely with religious leaders and communities in Birmingham and all around the globe, including on the establishment of world-leading teaching and research in Jain studies and the ethics of nonviolence, and at the University of Birmingham, named after the leading Jain apostle Bhagwan Dharmanath. This initiative was co-created and made possible by the generous support from the Jain community. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Charlotte Hempel.
I just want to start by saying it's a real honor for me to be here and to meet many friends in person and see so many members of the community here for the first time. I'm very grateful to be hosted so generously by Dr. Jaswant Modi, and without also Dr. Sulek Jain's vision and the collaboration amongst the community leadership, we wouldn't be in the very fortunate position we are at Birmingham University. Let me start by saying a little bit about the University of Birmingham and what makes it different from many other places in the United Kingdom, and to give you a flavor. It's a very large and comprehensive research university that covers all disciplines in the sciences, medicine, and obviously engineering, which was Dr. Jain's PhD. It is in a very diverse and vibrant city. Birmingham is Europe's youngest and most diverse city. And the Department of Theology of Religion and the Department of Philosophy are jewels in the crown of this world-leading university. To give you some evidence for this, in the UK we have a research assessment exercise every 6 to 7 years. And during this exercise, the latest research is read by the top minds in the country. All the books that we submit as academics via our institution and all the peer-reviewed journal articles. And in the last 2 exercises, both departments were in the top ranked departments. Let me be a little bit more specific in the language I think that is well understood anywhere in the world. In the last assessment, the Department of Philosophy, where Dr. Shade is, came first in the country. And the Department of Theology and Religion slipped slightly to 3. So well above both Oxford and Cambridge. This might surprise you, but it's based on the fact that we have this exercise where every word is read and you can't repeat anything you've done previously, or if you've done a very famous book 10 years ago, it won't count again. So it is quite demanding and rigorous. So you're in good hands with us. Birmingham is also a global city, just like the Jain faith is a global faith. And we have a very large Indian diaspora, including a Jain ashram and also a very large Sikh community. We are working very closely with the community, both in Birmingham and nationally, as well as globally. And our faith communities do so much good in our city. We share the same values with the city and the faith communities, and I can also attest from testimonials we've had from our students and simply getting to know Jain ethics and values, that I believe the Jain faith is not only inspiring and reinvigorating your own young people, but we are finding it is really appealing to the current generation of young people who believe in veganism and non-violence and ethical living and conduct. So it is actually reaching that revival that we heard the president talk about, is reaching far beyond the Jain community. And the scholarly team that we have been able to hire in Birmingham, I don't need to say too much. It's quite clear from that presentation that we have been able to hire brilliant scholars. We have, as Dr. Jain said, 3 full-time academics, 2 of whom have just spoken, and we have also Dr. Theophilopoulou, who is not able to be with us today, and we have also made an honorary appointment. We gave an honorary professorship to Professor Nalini Balbir, who was on the slide earlier, which was approved by our Vice-Chancellor as an honorary professor in Jain Studies at the University of Birmingham. And in addition, we already have a visiting funded PhD student from Brazil, and we are about to recruit, thanks to additional very generous support from Dr. Modi and Dr. Modi, we have 2 there, of 2 MA studentships. Also, thanks to the generous support that we've had from the community, mainly from the US, but also the UK, and mainly from this area, and mainly from one family, we have been able, within 2 years, to not only recruit 5 outstanding academics and teachers, we will soon have, hopefully, 7 scholars once the MA students are recruited. And in addition, we are about to put the final touches on a collaboration with the UK's Institute of Jainology of repatriating a very large number of incredibly valuable Jain manuscripts from the Wellcome collection to the Jain community. And the Jain community in the UK, represented by the Institute of Jainology, have decided that they will house those very precious manuscripts in the special collections of the University of Birmingham. We hope to see many of you with us to celebrate that early in the new year. And the Wellcome Trust, which is one of the most wealthy trusts globally, acquired these manuscripts in the days when people still traveled through India and just took things for very little money, and they want to do the right thing and restitute this material to the community. And they are being incredibly supportive also to help us look after it at the University of Birmingham by conserving everything before they part with it. It's a very exciting collaboration, just like our academic collaboration with your community. The university is also at the highest level very committed to this partnership, and we have spent many sessions in the House of Commons and the House of Lords, hosted by the Institute of Jainology and often chaired by Mehul Shangraikar in the UK. And members of the community, including Dr. Jaswant Modi and others in the room, have attended highlights in the calendar of the University of Birmingham, including the launch of this program, as well as the recent retiring dinner for Lord Billamoria, the founder of Cobra Beer, who is a Zoroastrian, and he was the first Indian-born chancellor of any university in the UK. I want to also just give you my own impression, somebody who's been in academic life for a while and has an overview over the global scene, and I just want to reflect with you on the way in which your community, in less than 2 years, has been able to achieve all this with our university. But not only that, you heard from Dr. Sulek Jain how many chairs have been established all over the world. So what you have actually achieved as a community that is marginalized in the academic world is to create a scholarly discipline at scale globally together with academics. I personally cannot think of any other achievement and example of this kind. So I want to applaud all of you. And finally, I would just like to thank you all again for hosting us, for your very generous support, and I look forward to being a part and a big fan of this program over the whole of the time that I will be in academia and at the University of Birmingham. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Hempel. We do hope that you are in academia for a very, very long time. Up next, I would like to invite Assistant Professor Jonathan Dickstein to the stage. Mr. Dickstein is the Assistant Professor at Arihant Institute and Visiting Assistant Professor at Claremont School of Theology. Mr. Dickstein specializes in South Asian studies, religion and ecology, and comparative religious ethics. He received his doctoral degree in religious studies from the University of California, Santa Barbara, very close by, where he investigated ancient Indic animal taxonomies and their relationship to regulations on ritual sacrifices and dietary practice. Mr. Dickstein's current work focuses on Jainism and contemporary ecological issues, accordingly extending into critical animal studies, food studies, and more. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Assistant Professor Jonathan Dickstein.
Hello, everyone, and how does that sound? All right? Okay. Thank you all, and Jai Jinindra. I will keep my comments brief. Actually, it's really just an honor to be here and be invited amongst so many unbelievable scholars whose work I am a fan of, read, follow, and I'm constantly impressed by, and many of whom I'm meeting for the first time in person. I also want to thank Dr. Sulek Jain and Dr. Jaswant Modi for all of this continual support, either the support that I have received working for Arihanta Institute or at Claremont School of Theology in the master's program in Engaged Jain Studies. So I'll just quickly, so some of you may be kind of unfamiliar with where I come from in terms of this work. I'm not going to give a full background on Arihanta Institute, but I'm really proud to work at an institute that is making these Jain teachings that we've already referred to available to people both inside the academy and outside of it. And I only want to echo what was just spoken, that we have so many students who are non-Jains, who are extremely excited about taking our courses in Jain philosophy, Jain history, Jain practice, and are kind of really deeply inspired on a heart level by the ways in which the Jain community is dedicated to actualizing those principles in their daily lives. But I'll leave kind of my gushing over our students for kind of another venue. As for me, just talking about research, so outside of teaching courses on Jainism, specifically the history of Jain vegetarianism in the context of global vegetarianisms, animals in Jainism. My personal research nowadays is still very kind of animals and ecology focused. And while I was, just up north a little bit at UC Santa Barbara, where I actually also taught as part of the Bhagwan Bimal Nath lectureship, now a wonderful chair with Dr. Anil Mundra, my research really started to focus away from Brahmanas, Dharma Shastra, Yoga Shastra, that were really non-Jain focused, more into early Jain and early Buddhist traditions. And I pivoted this largely through my concern with animals, both in their lived realities, but also the concept of the animal and how it relates to our concept of the human, and how that is understood both inside and outside the Jain tradition. Because I find it to be absolutely integral as a philosophical exercise, but also very much so sociopolitically, right? When we think about dehumanization, animalization, what that means. So I'm highly invested into how Jains understand non-human worlds and how much their ethics kind of work in or kind of interact with that. And we see that with things like Jain vegetarianism, Jain veganism. Which leads me to one of my other research interests. I'm doing an ongoing ethnographic project at Love and Arms Animal Sanctuary in Erie, Colorado, which is the, to my knowledge, only Jain-founded Pindrapol in the diaspora, or at least the North American diaspora, founded and operated by Shaleen and Shilpi Shah. And so that's an ongoing project I'm working on. And I also do work in Jainism and plant ethics. So really trying to understand Jainism in light of contemporary research, philosophical and scientific, on ethics with respect to sentient, arguably sentient, and non-sentient organisms, and what Jain could add to that conversation in environmental ethics, which is becoming more and more topical. And we could talk about kind of artificial intelligence and Jainism another day. But these are really just my basic interests, and I have found so unexpectedly from where I started in my academic career, kind of a home in Jain studies, and both on the intellectual level, the heart level, and on the practical level, I find it to be continually inspiring, both in theory, but also seeing what communities such as this and communities around the country and abroad are doing with respect to these issues. So I just want to express my thank you to the Jain community here, but also all of the scholars here whose work I am, again, constantly impressed by, and I'm following, even if you might not see me in the corner taking notes and applauding. So thank you all so much.
I think I've gotten a master at adjusting the mic lower. Thank you, Dr. Dickstein, or Mr. Assistant Professor Dickstein. I would now like to introduce Dr. Anahita Hoos. Dr. Hoos is a scholar of Indian languages, texts, and culture. Originally from England, she crossed the pond in 2016 to join the University of California, Los Angeles program in Indo-European Studies as a PhD student. After completing her PhD in 2022, she moved to the UCLA Center for the Study of Religion, where she is currently the Bhagwan Abhinandan Swami's Jain Lecturer in Jainism and South Asian religions. She also holds a postdoctorate diploma in Prakrit language and literature awarded by International School for Jain Studies in association with Deccan College Postgraduate and Research Institute. Dr. Hoos has research interests in Jainism, Sanskrit, among other topics, and has published articles, both cultural and linguistic subjects. Her recent study projects include conference presentations on Jain literature from both modern and pre-modern India. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Anahita Hus.
I'm very honored to be here and to see so many scholars. Okay, is this better? Thank you. And to see so many scholars and community members. It's a real pleasure. Today I'm going to talk about one of my great interests, which I've really deepened my pursuit of in the last couple of years. And that is medieval Jain narrative literature. I did send some short slides to Dr. Modi, but perhaps we can proceed without them. Oh, okay, wonderful. Now, I will try not to take out too much of your time, nonetheless. Stories play an immeasurably important role in human culture and socialization. And I've become increasingly aware of the significance of the body of stories written by medieval Jain authors. Texts which are significant for both scholars of Jainism and others. Professor Phyllis Granoff has noted that it is thanks to Jain writings that much of medieval Indian story literature as a whole has been preserved. And without them, we would know much less than we do of popular culture in medieval India. Thus, this textual corpus makes up a priceless legacy for Indologists, even beyond the world of Jain studies. And even to this day, storytelling remains important within the Jain tradition. Sherry Ford has commented that religious narratives are the primary means through which Jains learn about Jainism. Next slide, please. Now, the story I chose to focus on today is the tale of King Yashodhara, one of the great cultural constructs of Jainism. Interestingly, this is a story told only by Jain authors and told by both Digambara and Shvetambara authors over a period of 1,000 years. Versions are known in 7 languages, including Gujarati, Hindi, Tamil, and Kannada, as well as Sanskrit and Prakrit. And there are also several beautiful illustrated manuscripts created by Digambaras, which bring scenes from the story to life. And I'll show you some images from one of those shortly. So we can see that this story had a powerful hold on Jain imaginations, and there is good reason for that. It's a gripping tale, as we'll see, if it's also a somewhat horrifying tale. And it's also, importantly, a powerful vehicle for Jain ideology. I'm focusing today on the Sanskrit version of the story in the Burhakatha Kosha by the Digambara Sadhu Harishena, writing in the 10th century. Now, this is not the earliest version, which dates from the 8th century. It appears in Haribhadra's Samaraitakaha. But Harishena has been identified as the earliest known and extant author of the story in the form which became standard for later writers. But I'm using illustrations from one of those later versions, the Jasaharacharyu, which was composed in Apabhramsha by Raidu in the 15th century. Next slide, please. Yashodhara ruled peacefully in Ujjayini, happily married to his queen, Amurtamati. And here we can see their worldly contentment. Of course, worldly contentment is fragile and fleeting. And Yashodhara learned this when he discovered that Amurtamati had betrayed him, which led him to contemplate abandoning the world and taking Diksha. Next slide. Before he could renounce, however, his mother, Chandramati, persuaded him to make a sacrifice to their family goddess. Instead of killing a living animal, Yashodhara, together with Chandramati, symbolically sacrificed a cock made of flour. And we see the sacrifice on this slide. On the left, we see the hideous and bloodthirsty goddess. Next slide. This violent deed of sacrifice that had immediate and dreadful karmic consequences. Yashodhara's wicked wife poisoned both her husband and her mother-in-law. And in this horrifying illustration, Amrtamati tears at the throat of her dying husband, who has already taken the poison. If we think back to the first scene, showing the apparently loving relationship between the two, we can see only too clearly the treacherous nature of life in samsara. Next slide. The deaths of Yashodhara and his mother Chandramati were not the end of their punishment, but only the start of a sequence of horrifying births. Reborn as a peacock, Yashodhara attacked his former wife, but she and her lover injured him, and on the right here we see him struggling away. He was then killed by his former mother, now a dog. Born once more as a cobra and a mongoose, the two were killed by a hyena while they attempted to eat each other. In the form of a crocodile, Chandramati laid hold of her one-time son, now a fish. Now, he escaped when a troop of entertainers arrived, but this led to a terrible death for the crocodile, who attacked a woman and was tortured to death as a result. Now, as for the fish, he was later cooked, ironically in the royal kitchen where he himself had previously reigned as king. Now, in a fourth birth as goats, again mother and son, the former Yashodhara and Chandramati mated incestuously with each other. Born again as a goat, Yashodhara was brought to the royal kitchen a second time, where flesh was cut off him while he was still living. Meanwhile, Chandramati, who had been born as a buffalo, was tortured to death for killing the king's favorite horse. So, bad times all round. The sixth birth is where things finally began to improve. Now, Yashodhara and Chandramati, having been born as chicks, now overheard the words of a Jain sadhu, who explained that their sufferings were all punishments for sacrificing the flower cock. The birds embraced Jainism. And in their next birth, they finally regained human form as a pair of brilliant and beautiful royal twins, Abhayaruchi and Abhayamati, who became intent on renunciation. However, they had to endure one final trial. They were captured by henchmen in the service of King Maridatta, who planned to sacrifice a fine pair of human beings to his family goddess, Chandamari. When they were brought to him, however, the king was impressed by their beauty and asked them about their story. In the presence of a large gathering, Abhayaruchi related the entire series of events crossing 7 lifetimes. The story produced a flowering of ahimsa in the listeners, even the goddess herself, who converted to Jainism and instructed the king and citizens to stop making sacrifices to her. Abhayaruchi and Abhayamati became a monk and nun and were later reborn as gods. Next slide. This story is a manifestation of the Jain aversion to blood sacrifice, which has been consistently maintained throughout the history of Jainism. Early Jains firmly rejected the blood sacrifice that was an important component of the Vedic religion. According to the Uttaradhyayana Sutra, animal sacrifice cannot protect sinners, but rather is itself sinful. Principled Jain opposition to blood sacrifice continues in modern times. Next slide. Since the story of Yashodhara both begins and ends in the context of sacrifice to a family goddess, we have here an example of the structural device known as a ring composition, widely attested in the early literatures produced by Indo-European speakers. Between the two sacrifices, the protagonists make vast spiritual progress. In the beginning, Yashodhara and Chandramati blindly follow their family's traditional dharma by carrying out a sacrifice. The sacrifice at the end of the story, by contrast, remains merely projected. Threatened with sacrifice as a Bhayaruchi, Yashodhara succeeds in preventing it and in ending all sacrifice to this goddess, Chandamari, through his oratory. While we as readers enjoy the satisfaction of the closed circle, the difference between the initial and final sacrifices makes us also appreciate the hero's growth. Another touch of brilliance is the conversion of Chandamari, a Hindu family goddess who formerly demanded regular blood sacrifice. A condemnation of blood sacrifice coming from her very lips is obviously a very powerful endorsement of the Jain position. One of the most notable features of the story is the fact that the cock sacrificed by Yashodhara and Chandamari is made of flour, not a living creature, which makes the multiple lifetimes of gruesome punishment even more striking. It emphasizes the moral of the story. If even the intent to sacrifice brings such consequences, without physical bloodshed, sacrifice must indeed be a terrible undertaking. The story also reflects the importance of bhava, or spiritual disposition. Yashodhara's violent bhava manifests itself in a sacrifice, whose symbolic nature does not save him from the inevitable punishment. Stories like this are well-crafted works of literature which delight and entertain, and yes, occasionally horrify, but they are also infused with Jain values, which they convey powerfully precisely through their literary strengths. Medieval Jain literature is a vital part of Jainism's precious cultural heritage, and it's one that I look forward to exploring in much more depth in my future research, especially with regard to the relationship between the human and non-human worlds in Jainism. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause for that story. Now, I know we have been sitting for a little bit. I would like to take 1 second for all of us to just stand up for just a second. If we could all stand up for 1 second. Thank you. I know. And everyone, we can put our hands up. And let's just stretch it out for 1 second before we move on to these brilliant speakers coming up. All right. How does everyone feel? Are we excited? Are we pumped? Let's do this. Let's keep going. Everybody, one more round of applause for all our speakers so far. All right. You guys can all take a seat. Thank you for being such great sports. Up next, I would like to introduce and welcome Dr. Faraz Harsini to the stage. Dr. Harsini is a biomedical and food systems scientist with over a decade of experience tackling some of the most urgent global challenges, from pandemics to environmental issues such as climate change. Dr. Harsini is a bioprocessing senior scientist at the Good Food Institute and the founder and CEO of Allied Scholars for Animal Protection, a nonprofit dedicated to empowering students to advocate for the protection of human and non-human animals and pursue impactful careers to tackle major global challenges. Dr. Harsini's advocacy extends beyond animal rights to human activism. As an immigrant, first-generation college graduate, and human rights activist, he draws on his personal experiences to spotlight the interconnected nature of injustices faced by both human and non-human animals. Dr. Harsini believes that many forms of oppression and global challenges stem from our food system and the exploitation of other species. Through ASAP, he brings this awareness and education to universities, promoting plant-based diets and creating a more compassionate world rooted in the principle of ahimsa, or nonviolence, towards all living beings. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Fariz Harsini.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad you just got some exercise done before this. My name is Dr. Fariz Harsini. Thank you so much, Dr. Modi and Dr. Jain, for inviting me. It's an honor to meet many of you today. Can I get this mic? Okay, perfect. Can we have the slides up, please? All right, so today I want to tell you a little about my work with bringing ahimsa and nonviolence to a place that I think matters the most, universities. So professionally, I'm a biomedical scientist, and I spend a lot of time studying a lot of global challenges such as pandemics and zoonotic diseases, including COVID-19 and influenza. Something that we don't really talk about is that when you look at the history of pandemics from like influenza, HIV, AIDS, SARS, Ebola, coronavirus, most of them come from animals. So the point I'm trying to make is that when we consume animal products, it's not just the animals who are being exploited, we are also harming each other. And so I also became really interested. I grew up eating meat, egg, dairy just like anyone else. But when my eyes were open to the exploitation and the problems caused by this, I became really interested. And I really try not to be a scientist who studies things behind a computer. So I decided to go and see by myself. So this is me in India. These are mother cows that they no longer are profitable, so they're just released on the streets of India. They basically eat garbage and plastic and oftentimes die because of that. And this is me in Texas flying over animal farms to take a look. And just to give you one example, this is one city in Texas. And in California, I guarantee you it's even worse. This is the city. This right here is a farm. And when you zoom in, you see all these little boxes. Do you guys know what these are? So this is a dairy farm. Every single little box that you see from satellite is a baby calf separated from her mother. But I want you to think about the scale of this exploitation. How many thousands, so in that farm alone, there are 50,000 mother cows separated from their babies. And again, this is not just the animals who are suffering. The same farm I visited, scientists found that upwind of that farm, there are antibiotic-resistant species. Antibiotic resistance is one of the top threats to human life. And so what these farms do when we consume animal products, we are increasing the risk of pandemics and zoonotic diseases and antibiotic resistance, and as such, we are harming each other as well. And then there is this whole greenwashing and humane washing. You all see these, cage-free, grass-fed, organic. These are cage-free chickens. Now, aside the fact that all these animals are exploited and killed the second they are not profitable, they also cause zoonotic diseases. This is 2023, when I was giving this lecture, there were 60,000 birds infected with influenza in the US. I took this screenshot from CDC just last week. Now it's over 100 million. It's already spread to cows. It's already spread to humans. So when we were given a tour right outside, we were talking about how all of these things are connected, how every single decision we make influences, it has consequences, and these consequences are global. Again, I spent many years studying cancer, and the thing is, no one ever told me about the harms that we are doing to our body with animal consumption. This is not a vegan organization. This is UK Cancer Research showing you that both processed meat and red meat are carcinogenic. And this is Harvard School of Public Health that tells us most of our food is, it's like a basic Indian dish without the dairy. Half of it fruits and vegetables, and then whole grains and healthy proteins, which is legumes, nuts, and seeds. And the other aspect, these are the types of education we want to bring to universities. Everyone talks about climate, everyone talks about the environment, but it's just talking. No one wants to actually talk about the root cause. This is just the impact of dairy compared to other types of milk. And as you can see, in terms of carbon emissions, land use, and water use, it's the worst for the environment. And when you think about beef, it's even worse. And where does half the beef come from? It's actually from dairy. there is this whole other, so I don't look at veganism as a diet. I look at it as a stance against injustice. And, you know, like I said, I grew up eating meat, egg, dairy, but I care about justice somehow, ironically. This is my university. I'm originally from Iran, and this is University of Tehran. We were peacefully protesting, and the government was shutting us down. We were standing for basic human rights. That day, this is around 2009 and 10, I saw that paramilitary forces attacked somebody and started beating him in the head in front of me. And I have no words to describe how terrifying that was. And moments later, paramilitary forces attacked me, and I had somebody with a machete running after me to kill me. I managed to escape. I managed to leave Iran. But that really ignited this fire for me to do something about injustice in the world. And at the time, I wasn't vegan yet, so I didn't really know about the massive injustice that we are causing to non-human animals. And that's why I think these are all interconnected, and it's a moral urgency. Ahimsa, nonviolence, veganism, this is a moral urgency. It is the largest source of suffering in the world, and it's the most neglected one. And the solution I'm proposing is that we don't need to change everybody. We need to change a few individuals, thoughtful individuals who change the world. And those are people just like yourself, like academics and professors who are bringing students here, and all of you in this room. And just what we are doing with Allied Scholars for Animal Protection is to bring this education to universities. These are some of our universities: Harvard, MIT, UPenn, Brown, Columbia, Yale. And just imagine if we had a system where systematically we were educating students in hundreds of top universities in the US. Just think about the change that we can make. We can reach out to millions of students and train hundreds and thousands of students who become influential leaders, just like many of you here. In Texas, we go to University of Texas in Austin. I always see Christians there doing Christian things. Always, always. And the answer for me, the question for me was, why can't we be just like that? Why can't we be on universities and make sure that no one misses the opportunity to learn about ahimsa and nonviolence and veganism? To just give you one example, this is the Federalist Society. This is the Supreme Court of the United States. These are Supreme Court judges, and 6 out of 9 of them are affiliated with this student group called Federalist Society. That's how much power they had. But just focusing on students, today they have this much power. What is the equivalent of that to produce the next generation of thought leaders who believe in ahimsa and nonviolence? And so I was given an award, so I went to India for the first time last year, and I met with a lot of politicians like Maneka Gandhi and others that actually care about animals. Over there, I actually spoke to hundreds of students, and they were all vegetarian. They didn't know about dairy, so I told them about that. I spoke at many universities and had conversations with hundreds of students. And what I've learned is that even animal rights activists in India still consume dairy. So I made it my mission to come back to the US, because with ASAP we've built this infrastructure that allows us to implement an idea and educate thousands of students at once. So have you guys heard of this movie, Maa Ka Doodh, Mother's Milk? Amazing documentary, you have to go watch it. So we had the director with us, and we showed this documentary in all of our chapters. Just now, we had another documentary called Christspiracy, which talks about Hinduism and Christianity and spirituality and our relationship with animals. Because of our infrastructure, we also talk about Jainism and educate students and to think, can you be Jain and still consume dairy? Is that aligned with principles of ahimsa and nonviolence? One of my goals is that students should not miss the opportunity to learn about veganism and ahimsa as they're walking around campus. And here are some of the things we did. This is MIT. So every student who walks in these main hallways of MIT is constantly reminded veganism is a moral urgency. This is University of Chicago, again in front of MIT. We have other events. Love animals, grab a cookie. This is obviously a trap. They come and just like, oh, can I get a cookie? You love animals, do you eat them? And we're like, oh. And then we have conversations with them. We also have events about climate. What is number one action you can take for climate? Turns out it's our diet and the food that we are eating. Right now, this is happening as we are speaking in University of Chicago. So before, 20,000 students and faculty went about their day, ate turkeys this Thanksgiving without ever thinking about sentient beings that were tortured and killed. Each flag here represents 100,000 turkeys that are exploded and killed just for this Thanksgiving. So we are making it impossible to walk around campus without questioning our relationship with non-human animals. And another branch of our work is intensive education. So this is Dr. Pritesh Mutha. He is actually one of the speakers at Jain. We had him at Texas A&M Medical School to talk about benefits of plant-based diet. We had the previous president of American College of Cardiology, Dr. Williams, to talk to students. Movie screenings about the environment, ethics, and public health. And lastly, we work with universities' dining halls to actually provide plant-based foods for students. I just want to give you one real example. So this student here, his name is Joey. He was a part of military, and he used to raise pigs for slaughter. I had a 5-minute conversation with him, and wheels started to turn. He comes back vegan. He wanted to do something for the environment. I convinced him the best thing he can do is to promote ahimsa and nonviolence and veganism. Now he's a doctor, and he's dedicating his entire time promoting veganism. So when I say we can, thank you. But here's the thing. The reason I started ASAP is like, if I wasn't there randomly, it would not have happened. How many other opportunities like that are we missing? How many other professors and scholars and doctors and funders and CEOs are we missing that we could have impacted by a 5-10 minutes conversation? And just another example, this young lady sat at our table. We were asking a question, why aren't you vegan yet? She sat there with a bag of Chick-fil-A. But after this conversation, she went vegan, and she came to me and she said, I already paid for this Chick-fil-A, what should I do? I said, if you're still looking at that as food, that means you're still not vegan. When you become vegan, the animal products cease to be food. She went there and dumped Chick-fil-A, and I never heard from her again until I went on a tour and I realized that she's now an activist. So not only she has remained vegan, she has turned her family vegan, and she's an activist. So again, I just want you, so imagine if we had this system in top 100 universities. So that's my goal. And the last thing I always say is that think about like Gandhi or MLK and these leaders. What we admire in them is that the fact that they had the courage to see that there is something terribly wrong with society. I think animal exploitation is the most normalized form of oppression and injustice. These people had the courage to withhold the pressure and do something that was not popular at their time, and that's why we value them today. And I've made it my mission to train more people just like them. So thank you so much, and I would love to stay in touch. Please contact me and let's chat. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, I would like to invite, and I apologize if I mispronounce this name, Dr. Anna Bejzelj. Is that correct? Thank you. Dr. Bejzelj is associate professor and Srimand Rajchandra renowned chair in Jain Studies in the Department for the Study of Religion at the University of California, Riverside. She was previously a research fellow at the University of Rajasthan, and she taught at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Her research focuses on Jaina philosophy, particularly metaphysics, ethics, and philosophy of mind. She is the author of The Nature of Change in Jaina Philosophy and the co-author of Insistent Life, Principles for Bioethics in Jain Tradition. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Bejzelj.
Jai Jinendra, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Modi, for bringing us all together today. It's so nice to be here with everyone. I've spoken here several times about my research, so what I wanted to do today is give the floor to my graduate students. So 2 of whom are here today and 2 of whom unfortunately could not be here. One of them sent a video, so we'll see that as well. So I briefly just want to introduce our graduate program that has greatly benefited from the Jain generous donations, philanthropy. My students have received graduate fellowships, of course, also through the Jain chair that I'm holding. They have benefited. The returns have supported their language training and so on. So I just want to thank everyone for your generous donations. I know that it was a group effort for my chair, but also for all the ongoing encouragement, support, to Mahesh Wadar for the graduate fellowships, Dr. Modi for your continued support, and Dr. Sulek Jain for nearly 15 years of encouragement and support, and for your incredible vision in building this in the field of Jain studies. Thank you so much, everyone. So I briefly just want to introduce our graduate program. The graduate programs in the US, many of them function in more or less the same ways. We have a PhD program in our Department for Religious Studies. It takes about 6 years to complete a program. That's the optimal time. Some students take a little bit longer, especially if they have to dedicate more time to research language, to train in languages. All of our students are using several South Asian languages, training in several of them, both classical and modern South Asian languages. Some of them also have to do extensive field work, archival work, so that just adds years to the program. In their first 2 years, students are focused on coursework. The intention there is to provide them kind of breadth in the field of religious studies. It is a very intensive program in the first 2 years, but that culminates in the 3rd year where they have to do qualifying exams. They select 3 areas of specialization. All our Jain studies students, one of them is in Jain studies, and altogether for those 3 exams, they have to read approximately 120 books in less than 1 year. Which culminates in an exam period. They have to write 3 exams. Each one of them, approximately, they get about 28 hours for it, and then at the end, they do a 3-hour oral exam as well. So one of our students has just completed that. She's recovering, currently in recovery. And her next step will be writing a dissertation prospectus where she very precisely outlines the kind of work she will do for her dissertation, and then it's just research until the end of her studies, and then she writes her dissertation. So at the moment we have 4 graduate students focusing in Jain studies. We have applications every year. I've been very lucky to be able to accept a student each year, basically. Alba Rodriguez is in her 4th year now. She's the most senior student. We have in 3rd year is David St. John. Unfortunately, he could not be here with us because of family commitments, but he recorded a video. In 2nd year is Abhinandan Banerjee. Abhinandan is currently in India. He's getting married, so we didn't want to disturb him. So congratulations to Abhinandan. And Abhinandan focuses on, because he's the only one that won't introduce himself, so he's working on early canonical texts. He's interested in the topics of power, identity, gender, and so on. A great scholar. And our 1st year student, now we just invited him to Southern California, is Samyak Modi, and they will all tell you about the kind of work they do. So, as I said, all of them have benefited from your generous support. We hope to continue. We've just basically given out all of the 4 graduate fellowships that we have. We hope to continue supporting new students. So I just want to once again express my deepest gratitude for your generosity and for such incredible collaboration between the Jain community and us scholars. I'm very, very grateful. Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Anna, for the kind introduction. Wow, the light is really light. I cannot see either. So I think we've been sitting a lot and hearing all these wonderful scholars and introductions. So I think I'll try to be brief, and I'll talk about two things. A short summary of my story, and then, because we already heard about what we do in the PhD program, so I will talk a bit more of a few other things that we also do that I think they are important. We also teach a lot. For example, I have my first year as a teacher assistant, I had 95 students every quarter. So that is a lot. And now I have 75 students every quarter. I'm not the main professor, but as a teacher assistant, we also lead discussions on Jainism, South Asian religion. So that's a big part of our training, and I wanted to bring it up. But let me go a bit back in the story, because it's related to everything that we have talked today here. So I want to start back in Spain. I'm originally from Spain, so we had a nice mixture of accents here today. So I represent the one from Spain. I hope you can understand me, right? So it's fine. So actually my background, a little bit of my story, I'll make it personal, and then we go back to more the professional part that we are doing now in Riverside. So actually my background is in psychology and in social work, but slowly I was more working on this area of mindfulness research and reading a lot about neuroscience, and I became more and more interested on South Asian religions. So, but in Spain, we don't have much resources to do that. We don't have a lot of expert professors on this. So finally, I wanted to come to the States. So finally, it was because of fellowship. So I came with a Fulbright fellowship, and I did the Master of Yoga Studies at LMU. And then it was in 2017 that with the International School of Jain Studies, so it does work, the initiative. So I was one of the students who went to India, and I studied Jainism for the first time there in India. And that was really like light opening. It was because it's different when you study there, right? So I spent as much time as possible with the sadhvis. I spent a lot of hours in the Jain library, in the temple. We went to Lucknow, Delhi, Hastinapur, all these places, and learn a lot about the Jain text, the Jain yoga text, the main doctrinal text. And then it was years after, reflecting on that story, that I was like, okay, now I want to do the PhD in Jainism. And finally, I came back to the States here to UC Riverside. I thought that was the best place. I wanted to study with my advisor, with Dr. Anna Beiser. And yeah, it was a great decision. So as she said, this is my 4th year now, and it's been a long and challenging journey. I just passed my exams, and it was, so I read 120 books on focusing on Jainism, yoga, and then methods and historical methods and a bit of ethnography. Going now more to that, one second. So after the exams, now we have to move into the dissertation, but I would like to, just express my gratitude too, because during these years, for example, a lot of the language training, I could do it thanks to some of the dana or the donations that you've made. So I did all my Sanskrit, part of my Sanskrit learning with these language programs supported by some of you, so some of the donations, so thank you so much for that. And my other part of language training, I also did it thanks to the generosity of some scholars sitting here, some of my professors, Anil Mudra, Anna also, Chris Chappell. So it wouldn't be possible for somebody like me. I come from rural Spain to be here today, so thank you so much for that. And moving on my research, I'm focusing on Yashovijaya, one of the great last early modern philosophers of Jainism. So he's a figure that has not been explored so much. He talks a lot about interreligious dialogue, something that I've been interested in for a long time. So I'm focusing on him. I'm translating one of his texts with the help, again, with some of my advisors and professors here. And yeah, looking forward to have more time also to focus on the research. But I'm also teaching, TAing a lot. Now I have 75 exams to grade. So trying to find time to do everything. And yeah, I'll just end up with one more time saying that every time I come here to the temple, I feel so happy to be with all of you, with the community, and see kind of come together and share about ourselves, what we are doing, a bit of our stories, get to know each other a bit more, and move forward. So yeah, it's a great source of inspiration. Next week, some of us, we are going to the AR, which is the biggest conference on religion in the United States. So yeah, these moments mean a lot for some of us. So yeah, thank you for welcoming us here, and I look forward to the listening to the other scholars, and then going to the inauguration of the new of the new German did here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rodriguez. Wow, 75 exams? I don't even like taking one. Goodness gracious, 3 times. That's not okay. All right. We had a video of another PhD student named David St. John. He's a third-year PhD student. The department.
Dear learners,
PhD student in the Department of the Study of Religion at the University of California, Riverside. His interests include intersections of religion, law, and identity in the contemporary world. His conference presentations have particularly focused on the ethics and legality of religious end-of-life practices. Unfortunately, that video, we did have some technical difficulty in regards to that. So I would like to introduce the next PhD student, Samyak Modi. He is a PhD student in religious studies at the University of California, Riverside. He recently completed the Bhagwan Mahavir Fellowship to study Praktik in India and the International School for Jain Studies, Pune. He holds an MA in International Relations and Strategic Studies from the University of Mumbai. His primary research focuses on Jain political thought in medieval Western India. In addition to his academic pursuits, Samyak has contributed to Jain studies as a photographer and graphic designer. Ladies and gentlemen, Samyak Modi.
Jai Jinendra, everybody. I'm very glad to be here, and this is a very, very special occasion. I'll tell you why. So yesterday was Kartak Sud Poonam. Kartak Sud Poonam is the birth anniversary of Kalikal Sarvagya Acharya Hemchandra. And this is a wonderful continuation to that celebration, interacting with the brightest scholars in the world. And I'm really honored to be here. Also, my story is very, very different from everybody over here, probably. I am a Jain. I'm a practicing Jain. Jain tenets have always been very central to our lifestyle, to my family's lifestyle as well. And initially, I was planning to become a cricketer for India. Yeah, I was lucky enough to represent my college, my district, but and it was a different challenge. And we were looking at presentations about animals and justice for animals, not eating meat. And as a sportsman, you are always forced to eat meat. You're always forced to have diets which are not very Jain. For me, it was a different thing. We've always stuck to Jain principles. I wanted to become a vegan, but it was not so much possible, because you look at availability of vegan food, which is like almost thrice the price of regular food in India. But yeah, I hope that will change. And yeah, so like I have studied Jainism through my family. I have studied Jainism living in the tradition. I have lived with Shwetambar Murti Pujak monks before. I have studied Sanskrit under them. I later was very fortunate to get a chance to study Prakrit in Pune for 9 months. And again, I'm just counting myself to be very, very lucky to be here, to study, do a PhD under Dr. Anna Beisel. And yeah, and like it is a very enriching experience to be here. I know it is still my first quarter, but as of now, you can see a lot of differences. You can see you can actually feel the experience of the difference that you see in your approaches. Your mind expands a lot. You see things through a lot of new perspectives. I would actually go on to say that studying Jainism in the academic field is like practicing Anekantavad, because you're looking at things in so many different perspectives, and it really enriches you. Anyways, enough about me. I would like to conclude by asking for all of your blessings so that I could finish all the PhD work that I need to do. And thank you so much. Thank you so much to have me here. Jai Jinendra.
Everyone's so tall. All right, up next, I would like to introduce Dr. Manish Mehta. He's the chair of the Jaina Committee and vice chair of Academic Liaison Committee. He is an engineer, problem solver, and entrepreneur settled in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is near Detroit, and is passionate about uplifting those at the bottom of the pyramid. He was born in Jaipur, and schooled in East Africa, India, Singapore, and the United States. After arriving in 1985 as a graduate student in Cincinnati, Dr. Mehta was recruited as a Pachala teacher for youth at the Jain Center of Cincinnati, Dayton, until 1989. Thank you for being with us today. Please come on stage.
Jai Jinendra, everybody. Boy, really, the vision is terrible from here, but that's all right. I think my talk will be shorter than the introduction was, only in the interest of time. I just want to thank, on behalf of the Jaina Academic Liaison Committee, of which I'm the second guard. I'm the vice chair, as Namrata just announced earlier on. This is probably the largest constellation of Jain scholars we've had together in America under one roof. And really, the credit needs to go to visionaries like Dr. Jaswant Modi, Dr. Sulekh Jain, Mahesh Bhai Wadar, Dilip Bhai Parekh, and several of you who are both philanthropists and donors that have helped support this program. But really, look at the variety of research topics. And you just saw really literally tip of the iceberg because time was critical today. But you just got a very high-level flavor of the kind of research going on in all these university campuses that is so exciting and enthusiastic. So with that, I just want to thank and give my heartiest anumodana to both the scholars and the philanthropists who are here. And last point I want to make is, yes, we are inaugurating, I think, America's first Gyan Mandir today in a very short while. A week, 10 days ago, on November 5th, we inaugurated in Pune, Maharashtra, the largest and probably the single most comprehensive Gyan Mandir, known as Abhay Prabhavna, a museum of timeless Jain values that are portrayed there. I highly encourage you to go to the website abhayprabhavna.org. Look it up. I know there have been a lot of publicity messages through Jaina newsletters sent out. And we had some technical difficulties, so we could not show the video that I got together for Abhay Prabhavna today. but I highly recommend you please take a look at it. And if you are ever in the Bombay, Pune area, make it a point. This is a must stop. It'll make every Jain really proud of the amazing work that has gone into this vision. By the way, Abhay Prabhavna is also the headquarters of the International School for Jain Studies. It's an amazing building, very, very innovatively and architecturally designed, but also has pretty much everything from A to Z about Jainism that you would want to know, both as a scholar, but also as a Shravak Shravika. Highly recommend you take your children there when you are next in India. Thank you very much. Jai Jinendra.
Thank you to all of our members of academia that have spoken today. You guys have truly inspired all of us to continue in our Jain efforts. One more round of applause for all of them, please. At this time, I would like to invite all of our speakers that have gone today on the stage and in a wonderful seat already there for you. Please join us on stage. And let's get another round of applause for them. Along with them, I would also like to invite Assistant Professor Venu Mehta from the Claremont School of Theology. I would like to invite Jayendra Soni from the University of Innsbruck. Assistant Professor Anil Mudra from the University of California, Santa Barbara. Dr. Sophia Pandya from the University of California State University at Long Beach. Dr. Vikas Malhotra, who is at the California State University in Northridge. Andrew Bridges, who is at the California State University Fullerton. Go Titans, that is my alma mater. Christopher Key Chappell, who is the professor at the University of Loyola Marymount in Los Angeles. Brianne Donaldson, I'm sorry. Dr. Shivani Botra, who is the assistant professor at California State University, Long Beach. Shushma Parekh, who is part of our Jain Center. Shushma auntie, hi. Shrenik Javeri. I do apologize for this. Please come on stage and take a seat on the stage, please. And Dr. Philip Clayton, who is a PhD from Yale University. And Dr., last but certainly not least, Dr. Alka Jain. And now, onto the stage, I would like to invite Dr. Jaswant Modi, our incredible host and our wonderful, wonderful friend to the entire Jain community. Dr. Modi, please come up on stage.
Jai Jinendra. Thank you very much for this incredible gathering of all the scholars and audience, Shravak Shravika. Thank you very much for coming far and near to celebrate my once upon a dream to make the Jainism known with the mainstream of religions. I always thought that, like a kid, how can the Americans not know about Jainism when the rest of the Western countries have the scholars who know more than me, can speak in the vernacular languages in this part of the hemisphere, completely unknown when they praised Buddhism, but they didn't know Jainism. It was mind-boggling. Luckily, an opportunity came through my way, through my good friends. Yogesh Shah, our previous president, Raju Bhai Shah, who is our current president of the JTLA, and Virendra Bhai Shah, who encouraged me. And we started our first chair at the UC Irvine in the name of Bhagwan Parashnath. That was an eye-opening and starting of the journey of a philanthropic into academic religion. My son made me realize that a good virtuous leadership with high morals has to be nurtured at an academic level. So if we want to find peace, we have to be at the source. Whatever I am today is because of my strong belief of Jain values, which are very simple, rolled into triple A: ahimsa, anekantvad, aparigraha. And that can be expanded into the volumes which the artificial intelligence is still having a hard time to figure it out. I never wanted the glory for myself, and I wanted our 24 Tirthankars seated next to Buddha in colleges, and that was my dream. Today, we conceptualize the 24 Tirthankars' name raised at the different universities around the world. All this started about 10 years ago, right here in a JCSC auditorium. That is why in a Gyan Mandir, the main idol pratima is Bhagwan Parashnath. I thought it would take 24 years for me to raise this temple of the knowledge, but with the Bhagwan's blessing and everyone's support, we are finishing today chairs more than 24. This milestone is portrayed in the visual dedication at the JCSC with the installation of the Gyan Mandir to remind that the knowledge is not power but an intrinsic value of the soul, and to cultivate it correctly with the right belief and utmost compassion. This dedication would not have been possible without help of many of our members of this Jain community, especially architect Rahul Bhai Jobalia, who is here today. He has given unconditionally his support for 1 year. Without his help, this would not have been possible. I believe he is here in the auditorium somewhere. And if he is here, please stand up. Have visited in Jaina 2019 also. He helped us making a temple, and that was also his work of dedication for more than a year. It was directed by Chitrabhanu in 1987 when we received the donation of the Tikut temple. At the time, the vision was to make this JCSC a museum, and the area that was built around it. Today, with the addition of the Gyan Mandir, it carries the theme seamlessly just proves that the 120 years of temple can sit next to a newborn with the same respect. And how befitting is that? Few individuals who have helped me and who are also helping into this journey of an academic education. I would like our past president, Virendra Shah, who is here, maybe stand up. Virendra has done a lot of service to the Jain Center, but he is also behind the scene doing an incredible work. He is in charge of the Jaina e-library along with the team, and the Jaina e-library is an incredible research tool that scholars around the world are using it. So thank you very much for your time and dedication, Virendra. We have in our audience Rajendra Vora. He is a founder and a president of Jain Social Group of the Beverly Hills, and he has been helping in promoting Jainism in a different way. Rajendra Bhai, I don't know whether he is here. Okay. Thank you very much for doing great work. Last but not the least, we have in our audience Professor Mayuri Bhandari. Please come on the stage. She is a professor of the performing arts at the Loyola Marymount University. She is an actress, and she has done an incredible work in Bollywood and Hollywood. She was born in a Jain family, and now she was originally in the Las Vegas, but now she has moved here at the Loyola Marymount University. She has a master in yoga from the LMU, and she has a passion to contribute Jainism in a different way, and it will be a good source for our Jain Center and other people to make use of it. This has been a long journey. I'm so happy to be part of this center, Jain community, all the members of the Jain Center here, current EC, BOD, past presidents, and they have helped. A lot of other members have contributed in many different ways. I must say one particular friend and a couple, our member, Raksha Ben and Harsad Bhai Shah, they are not here today, but they have contributed more than $3 million to a different Jain chairs every time when I have asked him for a help, he has never said no. So this is a joint effort. Thank you very much. If any of the scholars who is here that we have not said or forgotten, please raise your hand. I would like to have everybody on the stage, all the scholars, and take a picture, photographs before we go up in a Gyan Mandir. Thank you very much.
Thank you again. So now we're going to do a quick photo op with all of our academics. So while that is happening, I would like to say some thank yous, particularly to our AV team. Thank you so much, Dinesh Shah, Dhaval Mehta, and Rahul Parekh. They're in the back. They've been the backbone of this event. Thank you so much for doing everything that you do. I'd also like to thank our Jain Center of Southern California's Youth Council's clubhouse members, particularly Usha Bose, sorry about that, Neil Mehta, Twisha Shah, who did our performance in Bharatnatyam for the Nokar Mantra, Shrey Palival, and Shrey Mehta. Thank you all for all of your help and everything that you guys have done for our Jain Center. And one more thing, we'd ask that any members of our executive committee that are here, we would now like you guys to join the stage for one more photo. Samir Pai, Ketan Pai. All right, while they're taking that photo, how's everyone doing out there? Are we feeling good? We feeling educated, liberated? Yeah, excited? I would just like to say that, you know, I have been born and raised in a Jain family, and the philosophy is not only something that can be transferred into every single culture, religion, sect, but it can also be something that just makes us feel very wholesome. So we thank you, all of the academics, everyone on that stage, and everyone in this audience for being such strong members of our philosophical community and making this world such a better place through that philosophy. So thank you, everybody, very much, and we really appreciate everything that you all have done. He's very thorough, just FYI, everybody.